What is going down, Sourdough Squad? We have some news to talk about today. Potential superstar not available for week one. Is there something to be alarmed of? We're going to talk about it right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Hope the squad is doing well today. We are one step closer to 49ers football. We got actual football tonight. We got Rams. We got Bills. Bills by a million. Drop an SDS in the chat if you want the Bills to absolutely mollywop the Rams. That's what I'm most looking forward to coming up right here. Is I'm really looking forward to the Bills just taking it to the Rams. I need payback for last year. The 49ers are going to get it week 4. They're going to be able to show the world who owns this rivalry 100% week 4 and week 8. But right now, I do want to see the Bills absolutely manhandle those Rams because why not? I really don't like the Rams these days. To be honest, never really liked the Rams at all. And even more so, can't stand them. Dominic says Bills by 10. Gosh, I hope so. Also, too, I got a lot this year in fantasy. I got a lot of Josh Allen stock. So we need Josh Allen to go crazy today. We absolutely need to see it. So definitely want to see the Bills. But again, just excited that football is back. We get football tonight. We start to fill that void left all offseason, just clawing for football. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. We got it. I'm very excited about it. But let's talk a little bit of news regarding the San Francisco 49ers as we get everybody in here. And you guys already know, smash that like button if you haven't already. If you're watching on Facebook, come watch on YouTube. Why not? But we do got the chats integrated regardless. Good to see all the squad. Some unfortunate news, I think, as we continue to discuss San Francisco 49ers football. We heard earlier in the week, I almost call him Josh Kittle. Greg Kittle, George Kittle, did not participate on Tuesday's practice. We weren't totally concerned yet, but not practicing on the Thursday before week 1. Again, it's not the nail in the coffin for George Kittle's status for the game against the Bears, but it is not a good sign. It's definitely trending in the wrong direction. We're going to find out if he's maybe a limited participant tomorrow in Friday's practice. But again, I'm also not holding my breath that anything is going to go down with this. It does look like George Kittle is trending towards being out week 1. We also had a report drop from Aaron Wilson of Pro Football Network before practice indicating that it does look like George Kittle is suffering from a stage 2 groin strain. Man, those soft tissue injuries are just no fun. It just feels like the 49ers are plagued by them one way or the other. This time it looks like George Kittle is the most recent. We don't know how it happened. We don't know when it happened. Again, you go back to preseason, George Kittle did play in that final game against the Texans. I don't know if it happened against the Texans. I don't know if it happened in practice, but it does look like George Kittle is trending towards being out week 1 against the Bears. Obviously, it's going to be a big loss. You can't look at the situation where you have one of your best players on the team, a big energy guy. I mean, go back to the Texans game last year when Trey Lance was getting his start. And who was the guy that was constantly in Trey Lance's ear on the field, just like picking him up, giving him that energy? It was George Kittle. So not only are we going to miss George Kittle and what he's able to bring as a blocker, as a guy who can be a yak monster, but we are going to miss the leader on the field. I think that's going to be one of the toughest things, too, especially going into this week 1 game with a lot of pressure already mounting on the young quarterback, Trey Lance. It would have been nice to have George Kittle there to kind of pick him up. But he'll still be there, of course, and he'll still be able to do his leadership role from the sideline. But George Kittle will be missed. As we know, I would imagine that we see Tyler Kroft step in, we see Charlie Warner step in, and we see Ross Dwelly pick up the slack for George Kittle. The biggest thing with those guys, I think, is if they can just block. Now, we love Kittle. We love Kittle, what Kittle can bring in the passing game. We love what he brings in the running game. But I think if we look at the game plan against the Bears, there's enough weapons outside of George Kittle where they can work around this, right? Like what they need ultimately from that tight end position is they need blockers. They need able bodies. Guys are going to pull across the formation, guys who are going to get to second level, seal on outside zones, all those types of things, doubling with Trent Williams, doubling with Mike Mcglinchey on the outside. That's what they need right now from these tight ends. So if you told me that the tight ends coming out of the Bears game had 1, 2 receptions, I would believe it. I wouldn't be too terribly upset about that because what does that mean? That means that guys like Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, Danny Gray, Jawan Jennings, Ray McLeod, maybe Jeff Wilson, those guys are relied on. So ultimately, it's a big loss, but at the same time, I think it's a loss that the 49ers can work around, if that makes sense. So, on one hand, it really does suck that George Kittle is trending towards being out, but on the other hand, you got a talented, stacked roster where I think they are going to be able to, especially overcome it week 1 against the Bears. All right. So, if we were talking about, let's say the Chiefs, or we're talking about maybe Tampa Bay or, Denver, maybe the conversation we're having is a little bit different. But I think based on, and again, we can't sleep on the Bears, but for most intensive purposes, I think we do believe that the 49ers are going to come out of there with a W, all things going according to plan. So I see Boomerat saying Juice gonna be the hero this year. I don't know. I've always thought, why don't we line up Kyle Juszczyk at tight end more? Like they call him the honorary tight end. Why not put him at tight end? Why not bring him in line? See what Juice can do. It could be another opportunity where maybe they do. I don't know. But I do think that the 49ers will be okay in the end. And if George can rest up, get healthy, hopefully get back for week 2, the home opener against Seattle, that would be great as well. But also taking a further step back, if Kittle can't be available for week 2, I think we can keep the same logic that applies. Like, yes, we would love to have George Kittle. Who wouldn't love to have George Kittle? But the Bears, Seattle, on paper, looks like they're going to be able to manage them pretty well. But of course, you want to have the people's tight end available. He's a spark plug for the offense, vocal leader, and one of those types of guys. And because you're not going to have guys like George Kittle, you are going to have to rely on the offensive line a little bit more. My guy asked overall thoughts on the O-line against the Bears. I think this is going to be an opportunity where we finally get to see the O-line build some continuity. continuity is huge for the guys up front, and they haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to do so. So I really do think going into this game, we're going to see a little bit better of an offensive line. Plus, you're going to get Mike Mcglinchey back, Trent Williams back. It's going to make everything look a whole lot smoother. And we're going to see game planning. That's the biggest thing that's missed from these preseason games that we all watched. There was no game planning. Once you add Kyle Shanahan into this mix, it is going to really aid the whole offensive line. Shout out, new member to the Sourdough Squad. Let's go, Rob, just in time for the year. Appreciate you guys. And shout out the Mod Squad. We already see the Mod Squad putting in work. That's how you know the season is right around the corner. You got the Mod Squad working. We got new Sourdough Squad members. we got injury reports. We got people freaking out. We got people not too worried. That's how you know the season is right around the corner. And frankly, I'm all for it. What do you guys think? Let's ask the SDS. Time to pull the SDS. How are you? What's your your danger meter? If you had 10 just being lights flashing like, oh, we're in danger, that George Kittle isn't playing against the Bears, and 1 being like, no danger here. Where are you? Where do you find yourself on that sliding scale? Because it does feel like we got to kind of prepare ourselves for week 1 without George Kittle. And again, George Kittle's a huge piece. So it's like hard to say like, oh, well, not having George Kittle, not that big of a deal. It is a big deal not to have George, but also at the same time, they can overcompensate, I believe, against the Bears. Let's take a look at the chat. Charlene says 2. So again, little dangerous, not a whole lot. 2.5. I like the fraction. I think that's good. Alex says 1. Jason says 3. Sam says 4. DJ says -1. Not a big deal. Alexis says, I say we're at a 2. I think that's fair. Jesse says 0.5. Ricardo's like, smash the glass in case of emergency. It's time to panic. 7.5. Who's starting at tight end? I would believe. See, this is the thing. It was so hard to gauge Charlie Warner this offseason because we really didn't get to see Charlie Warner until like the last week of training camp. So it was really difficult to assess his progress because he was recovering from a little bit of a knee situation that he had in the offseason. So with barring no knee concerns for Warner, I would have said it's Warner, but could be Ross, could be Warner, could be Tyler Kroft. Don't sleep on Tyler Kroft. Tyler Kroft has been there. He's done that. He's a proven tight end in this league. Again, I talked about it with Jason Aponte on State of the Franchise. Tyler Kroft used to piss me off because I was a big Herndon guy, the Miami tight end, 3rd-round draft pick, all the athleticism in the world. And this guy, Tyler Kroft, kept starting over Herndon. And I was like, why the hell can't Herndon get on the field over Tyler Kroft? Well, guess what? Tyler Kroft ended up being pretty damn good. So Tyler Kroft can block, he can catch, he can do all things. So it's going to be interesting. I imagine it's going to be a little bit of a rotation to see who ultimately gets those snaps. But the biggest thing is who's going to block. Who's going to block the best? We know they like to run the 2 tight ends to the outside with Trey Lance on the field. I imagine we see more of that. I would guess that the first 2 tight ends up would be Warner and Dwelley, but we could see Kroft absolutely mixed in. 4.5 on the danger scale, 3 on the danger scale, 5 right there in the middle, 3 on the danger scale, 2.75. I think that's fair as well. It's a good point. It's a 17-game season. So this is going to be the preseason for the starters. I think if we all go into this next 4-game stretch We go to the Bears. We go to Seattle. No, we don't go to Seattle. Seattle comes to us, but then we go to Broncos, and then Rams come to Levi's. Those first 4 games feel like they are going to be timeout. Timeout for you, Spammy, Sir Spam a lot. The first 4 games feel like they're going to be the preseason for the starters. So that's when I really think the team is going to figure some things out, figure out what's working, figure out what's not working. I don't think it's going to be absolutely seamless football for the 49ers offense, especially those first 4 weeks. Again, I've been saying it for years, especially now with the way the preseason works. The real preseason for the starters is the first 4 to 5 weeks. September is 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 a glorified preseason. So we'll see what they ultimately come up with during that time, but it is going to be fascinating to see what the offense looks like, especially without George Kittle in the mix, who is a huge emphasis in the blocking game. I talked about it all last year whenever we're breaking down film after the game. And you guys know I'm big into the trenches, so I'm always watching the trenches first. The trenches point and show us exactly where everything is going and why it's designed a specific way. Well, George Kittle and Kyle Juszczyk, for all of last year, you could say that they were the focal point of the run game, because wherever Kyle Juszczyk was, wherever George Kittle was, that's where the ball, they're running right off their hips. Whether you're pulling George across the formation, whether it's an outside zone and you're sealing to backer, like, follow George. George will lead you to where the ball is going. So that is going to be an interesting aspect of the game plan against Chicago without George, because he is such an integral part of the run game. I can't emphasize that enough. He is a huge part of the run game and the success that they have. So hopefully it doesn't hinder them too much, but I do imagine that the San Francisco 49ers are going to run the hell out of the football. I don't know about you guys, but I really do believe as they're drawing it up and scheming it up, maybe there's a little precipitation in the air in Chicago. New turf. Who knows how it's going to hold up? But great opportunity. And let me tell you, offensive linemen, we talk about the offensive line, right? We talk about how's the O line going to look. Offensive linemen love running the football. As a former offensive lineman, you tell the O line, like, hey guys, hey you big uglies, we're going into this game and we're looking to run it down their throats. They get hyped. They're like, oh hell yeah, let's go. And especially a young offensive line. So I think that's the best recipe for this game is run the football, because you can also help build that continuity and experience up front. Get these guys comfortable doing something that they want to do, and they want to run the football. Pass blocking is hard. Like, there are good pass blockers, Trent Williams, right? But look at the rest of the guys. Those are all run blockers. Mike Mcglinchey. Burford is a bit of a hybrid. He can do both. But you got, Brendel. He looks like he would definitely prefer to be a run blocker. Same with Aaron Banks. These guys look like maulers. They want to run the football. They want to get their nose dirty, and they want to run downhill. So that's how I see this game playing out. And it would be a great way for the offensive line to get things clicking up front. A lot of play action, again, run action up front. Great way to protect your offensive line. You have the run action, so it's play action. They don't, because you can't get 5 yards depth. If you get 5 yards depth on a pass play, that's a penalty for illegal man downfield. So what the offensive linemen do is they show run. They take their outside zone or their mid zone footwork, or they pull their guys, but they just don't get depth. But it forces the defensive lineman to run fit, opposed to, let's get our pass rush moves going. I'm going to put my hair back and I'm going to go after the quarterback. You have run action up front. You force the defensive lineman to run fit. So run fit, they want to grab the chest, they want to extend, they want to get eyes in the backfield, and they want to identify the running back. That's how that works. But you slow them down in the process, and then you can run play action boots. You can get Trey Lance out in space. You can do all different types of things that way. So, although we do look at the offensive line as a bit of a work in progress, there are ways to scheme and protect them to their strengths. And right now, I look at a strength of this offensive lineman as being able to run the football. And so I think Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson. I'm excited. Do you guys think we see Jordan Mason this year or this game? I would love to see Jordan Mason. I would love to see that. So we're getting some tweets. Oh, are they? Do they have the presser right now? Hold on. Hold on just a hot second. Hold on just one hot second. Oh, come on. Yeah, they do. So apparently, Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing the Justin Fields role. So we'll see, we'll see what they're gonna do. Yeah, I see that. They're supposed to go. You guys are supposed to go live way earlier. What the hell, man? Big Papa says, Brad, my question is, how will the runs be distributed between the quarterback room? When you say the quarterback room, does that mean Jimmy Garoppolo as well? Um, I do think this is going to be the Trey Lance show. I don't think they're going to put Jimmy Garoppolo in unless they absolutely have to. So when it comes to the quarterbacks, it's definitely going to be Trey Lance, especially this week against the 49ers or against the Bears. Oh, running back room. Got you. Got you. I really do feel like it's going to be a heavy dose of Elijah Mitchell and Jeff Wilson. The thing with Jeff Wilson, where he showed his value last year, even though he was still trying to get right after that meniscus injury and that occurred in OTAs, and he tried to get himself back, but again, that's difficult to return in year, and you don't really have that opportunity of a full off season of being healthy and being able to work. So I think Jeff Wilson actually looks much improved this year. I really think the bulk of the carries are going to go between Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson used in that kind of H-back role, especially when they put Deebo Samuel in the backfield. I do think there is an opportunity for Jeff Wilson to get on the field a lot in that kind of role. Again, pulling him across the formation, kind of having him as like a potential lead blocker. They did that a ton last year, especially down the stretch. But I do see the bulk of the carries, one going to Elijah Mitchell. Jeff, we'll see how TDP is used. I like TDP's ability. I like what he brings to the table. I like the traits. I just don't know if he's fully ready. Again, he's still a rookie, so he's going to come up at his own speed, at his own pace. But I really do think Elijah Mitchell, for now, is going to be the number one guy. I do think Jordan Mason, if we see Jordan Mason in uniform, I think he will be the third down running back. That's how I envision it. If we see Jordan Mason in pads, not only is he going to be a special team guy that will be able to play multiple roles on special teams, but that JaMychal Hasty role, right, that we've talked about, someone's got to fill that role. They loved JaMychal Hasty in the third down back role. I do see that going to Jordan Mason. Again, with the addition of Anthony Lynn, they love passing the ball to the running backs. So that is a perfect marriage for Jordan Mason and his skill set. Again, you guys didn't get an opportunity to see it in preseason. Like, they didn't show it, but Jordan Mason is really good at catching the football. and he's really good at running routes, and he really showcased that in training camp, and I think that was another reason why they felt comfortable in cutting Hasty and letting Jordan Mason make the active over Trey Sermon as well. So that's what I want to see. Sean, what's up, my boy? Says, do you see us using running backs the way we did in 2019 with Coleman and Mostert? A big back to smash and soften up the defense and start giving Mitchell the ball after. I mean, theoretically they could, but that who would fit that particular role, I would say, would be uh Jordan Mason or TDP as kind of the Coleman. I think Jeff Wilson's really good, but I think Jeff Wilson is really good because he has really good vision. Like, I don't see Jeff Wilson as a total like lower your shoulder, like smash mouth kind of a guy, but Jeff Wilson is real slippery. Like, he's really good at setting up blocks, cutting off blocks, in and out, weaving in and out. But I do see a situation where it could absolutely be kind of a rotation. I actually kind of see it as like Mitchell would be the first guy in, and then they would kind of work off the cadence after that. But I do think it's going to be like 2019 where they're going to play the hot hand. We know, especially if you play fantasy, you know, we always bring it back to fantasy because we know a lot of us play it. But if you try to track usage for like to try to identify trends of who's going to get the football in a 49ers Kyle Shanahan backfield, it's really hard to project because he typically goes with the hot hand. So it's like, I would imagine, again, Elijah Mitchell's one on the field. He's going to get those first and second down opportunities. After that, I think it's up for grabs. And obviously we're going to find out what's going to go down. Josh says, Mason, my sleeper this year. Brad, remember how you felt about Mitchell coming on the scene last year? I think Mason could be that this year. Yeah, I loved Mitchell, especially going back to the Senior Bowl. When I was covering the Senior Bowl as media, Elijah Mitchell was the guy that really stood out to me from those practices that he had. So Mason to me, I think you could argue has a higher ceiling than Mitchell. Like, that's how good Mason is. Like, I don't know why he went undrafted, man. I don't know why he went undrafted. And I think Mitchell's really good. Mitchell's really good. But Mason has upside. He has big time upside because he can do so many different things. And that's what makes him really special. Any concerns for Mason carrying the ball in the wet conditions? This is going to be our first opportunity to see how he works. So as of right now, no, he hasn't shown. I haven't seen one instance in training camp where a ball hit the turf with Jordan Mason. So far, Jordan Mason has been a really clean player for the San Francisco 49ers in regards to what he's been able to do with the 49ers, at least in training camp. So there hasn't been too many indications that he wouldn't be any good, but we'll always find out. This just from Chris Forster says Mike McGlinchey looks the best he's looked. And I will second that. Now, there needs to be obviously more of a consistency coming back from injury just because, he went down. But when I was watching Mike McGlinchey in training camp, I don't know, like I remember tweeting about it the day that Mike got hurt. But Mike had beat Nick Bosa 2 reps in a row. And I was like, Mike? It's like, look at Mike. And again, I've been big on, Mike's weight is not an issue. Like, I prefer Mike to be lighter. I prefer all my offensive linemen to be lighter, in fact, because if you have proper technique, you have proper depth in your kick step, you have proper leverage. It doesn't matter how big you are if you know how to work your technique and you know how to work leverage. And the thing with Mike going up to 320 is he put on a lot of weight onto his frame that he typically plays around 305. So he was stressing his body big time. And then when he was able to drop back down to 305, you could see the quickness. You could see the explosiveness from Mike Mcglinchey in this training camp. Again, unfortunately, the day that he got hurt in training camp and went out for that extended period of time for a couple weeks, he was having a great practice. He had just beat Nick Bosa 2 reps in a row, and I was like, "Look at Mike, man. So inspirational." But really with Mike, you saw again, he'd snap out of his kick step. His base looked good. Um, Bosa did come back and get him though. Whoo! Bosa came back and Bosa hit him. He did a Bosa thing and absolutely blew Mike up. Uh, but that's what happens, right? That's what happens when you play offensive line. Sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. And so I'm not surprised by that at all. I saw Nick Bosa beat Trent Williams like a freaking fiddle um, in a team period. So, like, again, but overall, the fact that McGlinchey's even winning reps against Bosa again is a promising sign. The biggest thing that I have with McGlinchey right now is I do think he's corrected a lot of the technical issues. Now, the thing with Mike is he's not going to be perfect with this technique, but what I love about what he's been able to do is he's been able to integrate workarounds into his technique by creating proper leverage where you would see it. Like he would get to his kick step, and if he got beat or felt speed coming around the edge, he would cross his feet to kind of change position, and then defensive ends would long arm him and get under his pads, and his feet would be crossed. And that's when you would see the like 2020 plays where you're like, oh, look at Mike, right? Like it was just a technical thing. He was just crossing his feet. He had a high base, high pad level, crossing his feet. So last year, what he was able to do is he was able to keep a wider base. He wasn't baiting as much on these speed pass rushing moves. And if he ever did cross his feet, he had proper leverage and his hips were in the proper location where he could create like a wedge still. So he wasn't getting driven back. Um, so Mike has done a lot to improve his technique. And the biggest thing with Mike, if he can stay healthy, the offensive line is going to look a whole lot better. I'm telling you guys. Like we were at training camp and it was just like night and day when Mike Mcglinchey and Trent Williams were both playing. Just night and day for that offensive line. When you took them out and you had School or McKivitz or Mills and McKivitz or Jalen Moore, like it did not look that great. But when you put McGlinchey and Trent, you're like, okay, we got a workable offensive line here. So I'm excited for McGlinchey. Biggest thing, got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy. Health is wealth right now. Biggest ability is availability. So that's the biggest thing for Mike. And that will help anchor the rest of the offensive line. So gonna need that. You're gonna have an all-pro, first team all-pro, 18 and a half sacks. I would imagine they're gonna line him up on McGlinchey a lot more than they're gonna line him up on Trent Williams if they can. If they can scheme it that way, I think that's what they're gonna do. So gonna be a good test. Gonna be a good test for Mike week 1. Again, Mike is a plus run blocker. He's more of a mauler. But he has improved immensely. Again, going back to last year, he was playing really well against Chandler Jones. Like I know you guys know who Chandler Jones is. In Arizona, I think it was week 11, right? No, week 9. Week 9 before he suffered the injury. Mike was playing really well. Really well. And so it was really unfortunate timing. But it doesn't look like he lost any of that. What he's trying to work through is just the pain in the knee. That's about it. Um, but looking forward to the Bears, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is the return of the wide back. We got I got hyped up talking about this on last night's stream. I forget. I think it was Mark sent me a clip of the Trey Lance having Debo Samuel lined up in the backfield and running a Texas route, Texas or a choice route, whichever you prefer. And it looked more like a choice route, if we're being honest. But you had Debo running a choice out of the backfield. And when we saw the wide back integrated into the 49ers offensive scheme last year, it was to run the football. Like there were very rare opportunities where we actually saw Debo line up in the backfield but turn into a receiver out of the backfield. I think we're going to see that this year. I think we're going to see the wide back position evolve because what Debo's so good at and what the 49ers were lacking when Mostert went down, they lost the explosive. They lost the explosive play from that offense because Mostert, you saw a little bit of what Mostert can do. He's still out there. I think he damn near matched Tyreek Hill's speed in that last preseason game that they played. I think they both ran over 21 miles an hour. Um, when Mostert went down against Detroit, you lost so much of that offense. So much of what they wanted to do last year was predicated on the explosiveness of Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert was so important. And it took them a long time to figure out that they had to put Debo in that role and use him and get that outside zone working and get that explosive element back in. But it was only used in the sense of being run first. So what I'm excited about is I'm excited to see how that develops with Anthony Lynn. Again, Anthony Lynn is going to pass to these running backs. They're going to pass the football to these running backs out of the backfield. And if you have Debo Samuel lined up as a running back next to Trey Lance, what are defenses going to do? Are they going to treat it as if he's a runner? Are they scared of outside zone? So they're going to bring, maybe the outside linebackers down outside on the edges? Do they maybe run up the middle? Do they crowd the box? Do they bring a safety down? Do they crowd outside linebackers outside the tackles? Okay, bring all these guys up, get them all terrified of Debo and his explosive running ability. Hit them with a zone read text like choice route or something, or just straight choice route out of the backfield. Choice route is awesome because it's predicated on what the defense is doing. So Debo is going to either break the route inside or he's going to break the route outside based on the leverage in which the linebacker, the safety, or cornerback is showing him. So he's going to go out, angle out. He's going to chop down. He's going to so if he angles out to the right and let's say the linebacker shows his hips and breaks to the right, he's going to break it down and chop back inside to create the leverage and get open and then bang it on him. You get the linebackers biting up, doing all that type of stuff. That's why I'm super excited, man. I'm really excited about what the offense is going to look like. So, yes, George Kittle not being there potentially could hurt, could absolutely hurt, but hopefully it won't hurt too bad. Won't hurt too bad. Sean, tell him. Debo running the Texas route on a linebacker is going, it's It's gonna be house money, baby. I can't wait. Jimmy Ward will absolutely be missed. Best safety in the league, 100%. What's good, my guy, Lake City? Oh, we getting hyped out here, baby. I'm so excited. We've just been talking about it. Again, we haven't even seen the scheme part of it yet. Like we've just seen glimpses of the scheme. So I'm really excited. Do I see Juice possibly playing a little tight end with Kittle, possibly missing time? I could. I would love to see it. I don't know if they do. I don't know. I don't know if they do because I do think they feel comfortable with Croft, Dwelly, and Warner, and they can still play Juice in his integral role as the offensive weapon, aka fullback in this offense. And where Juice goes, that's where the ball's going half the time. So I still think they would want the tight ends to play their traditional roles and Juice to play his role because Juice will still be able to work his magic for sure. RE says the Bears will load the box in the game. You will definitely see 8 to 9. That's what we want. Give us loaded boxes, please. Please bring down 8 or 9 in the box. I'm begging you, please. RE says we should counter with that Danny boy going deep from the slot or pitch and catch all day to Ayuk if it's there. Kelt says safety creeps a step. Gray gone. That's why you just get kind of excited about what's going down, man. There's a lot of options. I know we get so hyper focused in like the quarterback crap and stuff, right? But we just take a step back. We look at the weapons that they have and Kyle Shanahan, and we know how he's going to try to implement those things and he's going to try to attack these defenses. We want them to load the box. Load the box. Let's start off with like literally 3 run plays in a row. On a script of 15 plays on the opening drive, I hope 9 or 10 of those plays are run plays. Like that's what I'm hoping for. The tempo that they start out against the Bears, I hope it is just run the football, run the football, run the football. They're able to get in chunk yard, first down, chunk yard, first down. And then you have the freaking Bears defense be like, all right, drop a safety down. We're gonna bring Brisker down. We're gonna have the nickel kind of creep in a little bit more. Like, and then boom, play action, straight over the top, freaking Ayuk 50 yards down the field. That's what I'm hoping for. I can't. And then when you get that rhythm and that kind of back and forth, it's gonna be fun. You know, and we know what life is like without Kittle. Now, I will say this: Week 5, not having Kittle, in my opinion, directly related to why the 49ers lost against Arizona. So I'll say that. Like, I truly believe. You guys know I watched that tape. I crunched that tape, and when I watched that offense and kind of Dwelly struggling as a blocker, it ultimately led to the 49ers losing that game, is what I truly believe. So Kittle is huge. Kittle is a huge aspect of what they do, but the hope is, especially with Croft, they'll be able to pick up the slack for sure. Yeah. Oh, we need the Rams to lose tonight. How great would that be to get started this season with the Rams loss, Bills victory, get an AFC win over a division opponent? We get to scout a little bit tonight. So I hope you guys got your scouting caps on because week 4, we're going to see this Rams team that's playing tonight. So get ready. So we're going to scout that offensive line. Again, they got no more Whitworth out there. They just extended, haven't seen to, I think, a 3-year contract extension, their other tackle. So we got some scouting to do tonight. So I'm looking forward to it. Football's back. Back. Love it. How many sacks? A lot of sacks. I like this. I think 6 to 7. I'm in the same boat. 6 to 7 sacks. So I see someone talking about Javon Kinlaw. My guy talking about Javon Kinlaw. I'm going to get Kinlaw a sack. I'm going to get Eric Armstead a sack and a half. I'm going to give Bosa 3 sacks. I'm going to give Sosa 1 sack, maybe a little Menahue sack. Like, these boys are going crazy. These boys are going crazy. Also, for the entire sourdough squad, we got we got Facebook in here, we got YouTube in here, we got about 200 people. Whenever Nick Bosa is held, we need to make a ruckus on Twitter. Again, I imagine a lot of you guys have Twitter or whatever social platforms you use, Instagram, Facebook, hell, even YouTube, whatever. When Nick Bosa gets held and it's not called, we need to just make the most freaking ruckus imaginable on all these platforms. Tag NFL officiating, clip plays, post them, tag NFL officiating. Like, just be obnoxious. Like, that's what it's come to. I mean, we go back to the 2019 Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Just ridiculous. It will not stand anymore. It will not stand. So Nick Bosa gets held, not called. Freak out on the timeline. Tag every NFL official site. we will not. We will not allow the blasphemy of Bosa being held continue, because our man's is going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and we are not going to let these officials with their heads in the dirt, we're not going to let them just go off into the night silently without being held accountable. We're going to hold them accountable. Call the damn, throw the flag, or do something, because we will not stand for Bosa being held anymore. Won't happen. Won't happen. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Think they get Ray involved? I hope so. I hope they get everyone involved. I'm looking for a little bit of from everyone. I don't know if you heard it earlier, Justin, but I'm really hoping, like, if we see Jordan Mason walk out there with his pads on, jersey on, game day attire, I'm feeling the Jermichael Hasty role. I don't know about you, Justin. I know you're the leader of the Jordan Mason hive, but how I see it is if Jordan Mason is in uniform, not only is he going to be a special team contributor, but that third down role, that's, I just, I look at Elijah Mitchell. I look at Elijah Mitchell as your kind of base down. You're kind of base down back. I see Jeff Wilson mixing in as the base down back, but also integrated how he can be used as that like specialty H-back role when they put Debo in the backfield. And then when I look at third down back, I actually think Mason would have a better opportunity getting on the field in game time situations over TDP. So I really do look at Jordan Mason. Like, if he is dressed and he is going to play, I imagine he gets that third down back roll. Maybe we see a couple receptions out of Jordan Mason. I don't know, man. I'm just hyped. I'm excited to see what this offense is going to look like. Charlene says special teams with a score would be epic. Absolutely would be epic. Special teams much improved this year. Better depth translates better special teams. By all accounts, seem like we got a better special teams coordinator too. So hopefully that translates into much more productions. This is what I'm waiting for. This is what I'm waiting for. Give me the Trent Williams touchdown now. And this is an absolutely correct point. The biggest thing for being a third down back is how well you can pick up blitzes and pass protection. That's the number one thing. if you're going to be a third down back, boy, you better block. You better be an extension of that offensive line. And I haven't seen anything from Mason that indicate that he wouldn't. Um, but I do think that Mason I think that's an accurate point. You got to be able to pass protect first to be able to be a third down back. That's numero uno responsibility for the third down back, because typically if the third down back is in, could be a potential passing situation, which means they could be throwing a blitz at you. And that third down back needs to be able to pick up linebackers running through the A gaps, loopers coming around the outside. They got to. Got to. So, good point. Good call. Hopefully, we'll see it. Danny Gray deep ball sighting. Why not? I want to see Brandon Ayuk get a deep ball. That's who needs a deep ball. Brandon Ayuk was running deep routes all last year. Was getting no looks. Getting no looks. That's who I want to see go crazy. I want to see Brandon Ayuk go nuclear. Also, again, we're going to be bringing it back to fantasy a lot this year. I got Brandon Ayuk in almost every. I counted. I'm in. Wait, let me count again, just to double check how many fantasy leagues I'm in, just to show you how much of a degenerate I am. I'm in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm in 10 leagues. 10 leagues. 8 of them are dynasty. So I am still a degenerate when it comes to fantasy football. And I got Brandon Ayuk in, I think, almost every one of those leagues. So I want to see BA explode. I want to see him go crazy. He said, "Bro, I'm in one." And that's what I didn't add any new leagues this year. I normally add 2 to 3 leagues every year. I didn't add any new this year. I was still in 10. I actually cut down like 2. But I want to see Ayuk. I want to see Ayuk go crazy. Like if I had to put like an offensive player of the game against the Bears, like it could come down to like maybe Elijah Mitchell, one of the running backs, because again, I do imagine they're going to run the football a lot. But if we got some explosives at a BA, we got like a 60-yard bomb for the culture for BA. Like, woo! I'll give you opinion. Yeah, if you want to drop your squad in the chat, I'll bring it up. We'll talk about it. Boomer Rat. Definitely, he says, dumb question, but what is fantasy football supposed to be? So I'll try to simplify it, I guess. So you have a roster like setup. So you have a quarterback slot, 2 running backs, typically 3 wide receivers, tight end, flex, and there's a whole bunch of different variations off of that. But you got your rosters, right? And then you go through a draft like with 10 to 12 people, and it's a snake draft. And so you try to determine values, and you pick your players for the slots on your team. And then you go head-to-head matchup. There's scoring system. You get points for rushing yards, point for rushing touchdowns, points for catches, and all those things accumulate. And at the end of the game, based on all your players going against another team and all his players, then you get the outcome and the score, and that determines the winner. And you do that for an entire season. So every week you set your lineups, and then you've got playoffs and then a championship. It gets really fun. And then you put money on the line, and it makes it even more fun. Dynasty, I love Dynasty because I love pretending to be a general manager. So Dynasty, you have startup drafts where it's like 30 rounds. And the players that you draft, you keep year in, year out. And then every year after that, after your startup draft, you have rookie drafts. So you're only drafting the incoming rookies. And those are typically 3 to 4 rounds. And so you literally build up a roster. You trade future picks, you trade players, and it's addicting. The Dynasty one is where my heart is. I love Dynasty. I love pretending I'm a general manager, building my own squads. But Niner Cali Boy says, Brad, I know your Kittle slander rule. Thank you for acknowledging it. I appreciate it. He says, but given his injury history, do you see us moving on from Kittle next year? No slander, just a real question. And I do think that is a question that is going to be asked a whole lot more. And Niner Cali Boy, like, I don't think that this question is out of left field. Like, again, I just got done talking about, like, how I love playing GM, right? So if I had to, like, take my fandom out of it, again, I'm a big Kittle fan. I love Kittle. He was a draft crush out of Iowa. You know how that works. He's drafted by the Niners. We love Kittle. Kittle supports the page. Like, love Kittle. Kittle's our guy. So, and I love he's blocked. Like, I love everything about George. So I'll always be one of the first to defend George. But I also can understand why this question is going to pop up. And unfortunately, the injury and the way fans view injuries, they tend to kind of start to look down the line. Let's face it, George is getting up there in age. He's heading into his 6th season. He's heading towards that dreaded, 30 mark. But, we've seen Travis Kelce. I think he's 31, 32. And he's had longevity in his career. So I can understand why people are going to start asking this question more. Especially if, availability becomes like a reoccurring thing. Obviously not a great start to the year, but the hope is that they don't. But this is where we're going to find out, because I think after this year, it's up to the 49ers to either restructure and extend or trade. So I think we're reaching that point where that question is going to have to be answered. So I don't think that's slander. I think it's a question rooted in reality. It's a reality that I'm not looking forward to because I don't know what's going to happen. I look at George. He is definitely like the face. How often is the tight end the face of the franchise? Like right now, Kittle is the face of the franchise. Now that will probably transition soon to Lance and those other things. But right now it's Kittle. And he's loved, man. He makes great jersey sales. He is great off the field. He's a great leader. He's a great locker room glue guy. There's a lot of other things that Kittle brings to the table outside of blocking and catching. Obviously, being available is huge. What it's going to come down to is, do they extend him or do they opt to not? And if they opt to not, then they would be looking to trade, right? Because what is the biggest thing that we've learned from this Jimmy Garoppolo situation? They want compensation. And you don't let guys like George Kittle just openly hit the open market, right? Like, you just don't do that. Like, if you don't see him in your future, then you try to obtain, the highest possible return imaginable. So the thing that's going to be interesting, I think, throughout this year is that that question, I think, is going to be asked internally. I think they're gonna be having these conversations. Do we keep Kittle and extend him? Do we trade him? I'm always I'm always going to lean on keeping Kittle. That's just how I roll. Kittle's my guy. I think he brings so much to the table. I can never trade Kittle. But if I had to, look at the 49ers, yeah, I think it's a question that's going to be asked. It's going to be discussed. Like, what is, oh, hold on a second. And my guy, Jason, I saw your super chat. I'm going to get to that in a second. So, long story short, I don't want to trade Kittle. I'd like to extend him. I'd like to make him a 49er for life. But we'll see. I think those questions are definitely going to be asked here in the future internally. Because I think he's even hinted at it. He's even hinted at like, well, like we're gonna find out like what's gonna happen. But we did get jersey schedule, and then Jason, I'm gonna get to your roster here in a second. But we did just great question, Cali boy. By the way, I appreciate the way you prefaced it. Very respectful. So I do appreciate it, especially talking about one of my guys. Um, Wake up, honey. Jersey schedule has been released. Let me get it pulled up here on the screen. So 49ers just released the jersey schedule. Red standards. So obviously we know what those are. We get the white standards. We know what those are. Oh, the red throwbacks. Sexy. White throwbacks. Sexy. Bring the blacks back. When are the all blacks coming back, huh? So we get red throwback week 4 against the Rams and week 7 against the Chiefs. They love pulling out the white throwbacks against Seattle. We should, man, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the throwbacks should just be like the standard jerseys. I don't know. Is that too much? I don't feel like it's too much. But I think the throwbacks are so fire. They're so fire. They represent the history so well. They're so clean. The white pants just, I don't know. I feel like the white pants just make it pop more. Let me make a post real quick. But I love the throwbacks. I'm loving me some throwbacks, man. Wear them all the time. That's how much I love them. It's not even mess around. They look so freaking good. They look so freaking good. Like, why not? What do you think? Drop this in the chat because I know it's extremely controversial. But what if we got like a bit of like a revised, because I think they could use a little bit more work. I think they could use a little bit more gold in them. But what if they brought the all black back? And they could do the alternate helmets now. I know a lot of people are hating on it, and I don't get why they hate on it. Give me the gold chrome, bro, with the throwbacks. Woo-hoo! You give me the gold chrome with the throwbacks. Ooh, spicy. Gold chrome with the throwbacks. Give me matte black helmets with the all blacks. Whew. Spice. Spice. I get it. 49ers got a very good traditional jersey, so they don't need a whole lot of spicing up. But just just a little like if those were like the alternates, like black with gold chrome, like Tony's saying, that would be nice as well. That would be really nice. Uh, but hell yeah, man. Oh, we're close to kickoff too. We're close to kickoff too. Woo! We gotta watch the Rams. We gotta scout the Rams. Watch the Rams lose to the Bills. Let's go, Billies. Hey, I know we're not supposed to root for other. Oh, I got a shout. Hold on, Jason. I don't want to forget this. Sorry. So many squirrels, Jason. I hope you're still here. So many squirrels. I'm telling you, man. So many squirrels. You know me. ADHD gang to the moon. All right. So this is your squad. Let's react to the squad. Justin Herbert, Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary. So I already like the strategy. I've been making sure I get the RB1. I make sure I get the RB1, but I have been kicking RB2 down to the curb, like literally. Like Devin Singletary, I know you got Devin Singletary at the end of the draft. Like, so I like the strategy. You got Jamar Chase. Ooh, BA. Ooh, you probably got pretty solid value on BA, I'm assuming. Mark Andrews, Allen Robinson, flex 49ers defense. Gould. Dude, that's a fire starting lineup. And no coffee today. I haven't drank coffee in 4 days. Record. I haven't drank coffee in 4 days. I don't know how I'm surviving. I don't know how it's working, but so far this is actually I like that lineup a lot. I know you posted your bench as well. Derek Carr, Higbee, Melvin Gordon. Always love some Melly. AJ Green, Saints defense, and Njoku, Raheem Mostert to cap it off. I like the Raheem Mostert. I think the Raheem Mostert pick, I tried to get cute with the Raheem Mostert. I tried to let Raheem slide back an extra round, and he got sniped. But I think, you got Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins. We already know, like Mike McDaniels and how he's going to use Raheem Mostert. So I like that roster. That's a championship quality roster right there. Coffee is USA's. Oh, facts. Facts. We're obsessed with coffee. So was I. A little too much. But I've been drinking. I'm drinking tea, man. Drinking tea now. Definitely doesn't have the same kick. Doesn't even have a kick at all. But it's like it's still the warm and I think the process of like drinking first thing in the morning, it's definitely not the same. But yeah, got to cut back a little bit. My gut wasn't too appreciative of the caffeine intake, I don't think. So ooh, Tony from the top rope. I think that's true. Sugar. Oh yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Corn syrup. 100%. 100% is sugar. There's sugar in everything. Sugar and bacon. One of the things that I learned from going on a no sugar diet, uh, there's sugar in everything. I'm trying to freaking buy bacon, and I can't buy bacon. FCS turned FTA. Hey, you know the rules. We're past an hour. That means everything past an hour is off the rails. Anything goes after an hour. But yeah, sugar's in everything, even in bacon. Did I hear the news? Donald sent retirement letter. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that for sure. He's just crying. What else is new? He's crying. Always crying about something. No, I'm not the poster boy for being healthy. I'm the poster boy of what happens when you're not healthy and then why you have to get healthy. that's that's what I'm the poster boy of. I'm the poster boy of thinking that I can eat like a NFL offensive lineman and take in 6,000 calories a day and then be like, "Hold on a second. You're not an offensive lineman who is working out and practicing 3 times a day. Get your shit together, man." That's what I am the poster boy of. Oh, Musu B? Come on, Kahlua sliders, bro. Man, I'm a freaking sucker for my island food, my Polly's book, man. Whew. Give me some Hawaiian barbecue any day of the week. I'm going to town. Yep, this is it. You got to go uncured bacon, no sugar. That's it. Shout out ADHD gang. Appreciate you guys. But you know what? We got football right around the corner. We don't need to listen to me talking about what food has sugar, all that kind of crap. We could have a completely different sidebar conversation about all the different diets, the keto, and all that stuff that we should probably all be doing. But we're all gluttonous pigs that love to stuff our faces with delicious food. So hey, we're not all this. It's not all of us are that way. But clearly, I love some good food. Tony says, appreciate the super chat. Tony says, how much of a drop off in blocking is Warner under Kittle? Actually, it's Kittle has a domination factor that, almost like an X factor to his blocking ability. But Warner last year was pretty good. Now we'll see how he is this year because, in some of those preseason games, he didn't look the same totally, but you know, we'll see. I think it definitely is a drop off, but I don't think it's a massive drop off. Definitely think it's a drop off. Kittle's in a league of his own when it comes to blocking from the tight end position. So Warner is definitely capable. He's not going to be as dominant, but he's still pretty damn good. So we'll see how he responds overall, especially coming back from the injury. But he's still very capable, and he showed that last year. I appreciate that, man. Shout out to Barber. Jesus says, trying so hard not to listen about food. Lost 15 pounds the last couple of weeks. Keep grinding, my guy. I'm trying to get like you, man. I'm trying to get like you. We're going to have an SDS weight loss challenge for all the big boys out there. Shout out all my big boys. The grind is difficult, but we got football in 90 minutes. Let's get ready. Appreciate all you guys for tapping in as always. This was supposed to be a short episode, but somehow turned into a long episode. And now we're talking about food, and I'm hungry. So that's the way it works around here. But absolutely wouldn't have it any other way. I appreciate you guys. We'll have a separate vlog section for the SDS and the weight loss, the SDS weight loss challenge. We'll all go on a journey together. I appreciate you guys, man. You guys are the best. Shout out to SDS. We're in midseason form already. Let's watch some football. Let's probably eat some food while we watch football. And also, let's watch the Rams get hammered by the Bills. Bills by 1,000,000. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. Bread gang, you already know. Like yeast, we rise. We're out of here. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.